Okay, so today I'm going to teach you a skill called cross-reducing, all right? And hopefully a lot of you guys have seen this before, but if you haven't, just know this is a fantastic skill to have. It makes life a lot easier, especially when your fractions start getting larger. Okay, so I want to share something with you guys. So first off, I'm going to start us off with this problem right here. Okay, and you probably see it on the board behind me. It's 10/35 times 7/5. Okay, now I'm not going to necessarily draw this or complete it. I just want you guys to see, of course, what is it like to be able to solve this thing. So here's what you would have to do to solve this. Okay, you would have to, of course, remember, multiply the numerators first. 10 times 7 is 70. And then you'd multiply the denominators, 35 times 5. Now, most of us can't really do that in our head, so we'd just go over and quickly do a quick check, right? 25, 15, 16, 17, 175. Now, here's the issue. That's a pretty big fraction. And in reality, you're going to need to try to reduce it. Now, what happens is some of you guys may know some of your divisibility rules and start chipping away at it, but it's going to take you a little while. Okay? Others of us, and I know how it is, others of us, you're going to get there, and this is going to be homework, and you're going to see that big fraction, you're going to be like, and sometimes they're even bigger than that. You'll look at it and you'll go, well, I do not want to waste my time trying to reduce, so I'm just going to say, you know what, I'll just take my chances. I think that's reduced. And then you leave it like that. And then you'll end up getting it wrong because you don't want to take the time to reduce that thing. Okay? That becomes an issue. Okay? I'm going to show you a skill that will make this problem way, way easier. So you don't have to do this and reduce big time, a couple of big time numbers. Okay? So that's what cross-reducing is. So here's what I'd like you guys to do. And believe me, we will come back to this problem here. Okay? So here's what I'd like you guys to do. Is we're going to use yesterday, even though you turned in the one page, I have them here for you. And what I want you to do is I want you to go to page 314 where we had, not yesterday, but Tuesday's lesson. Okay, 314. And I know that this says 315 here, but you're going to do this problem on page 314. That's where we're going to have our lesson. So the problem that was on 315 on the worksheet you turned in, problem number 6, looks just like this. Negative 1/12 times 2/5. Okay? That was the problem number 6. Okay? This is part of the lesson, so you need to be writing this down. Thank you, those of you that are. All right, here we go. Step 1 is a lot like any other step 1 whenever you're dealing with any kind of fractions and adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying. And that is, we're going to go ahead and convert. We're going to convert any mixed numbers to improper fractions. Well, there are no mixed numbers on this one, right? But that's a skill that you still need to make sure you do because you're going to come across a lot of problems that that skill is needed. Okay? Now, remember when we did Tuesday's lesson, step 2 and 3 were pretty easy, right? We had to multiply the denominator or the numerators and then multiply the denominators. That was step 2 and 3. And then step 4 was reduce. Once you get an answer, check to see if you can reduce. Okay? Now, that still works. Okay? However, like the problem we did a little while ago on the introduction to this, it sometimes isn't the best method. So here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to do step 4 before step 2 and 3. So basically what's happening, step 4 is becoming step 2. We are going to do something called cross-reduce. And again, sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Okay? So here we go. Here's what cross-reducing is. Because these are products and we're multiplying straight across, okay? By the way, make yourself a little note. This is for multiplication only. Okay, if you notice, I said because we're finding products here, right? You're finding the product. We're going to go ahead and take these factors and multiply them to get a product. So 1 times 2, 12 times 5. Now, can you do this? Yes, you probably can. Okay, but we're starting off with an easier problem to get used to the skill. Now, here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to reduce before we solve. You say, well, Mr. Wilkins, I can't reduce 2/5 or 1/12. You're right. But if you take a look, we can reduce the 2 and the 12 diagonally from each other. When we reduce it, here's what we really should be seeing in our minds. 2 over 12, 2 12s. If I was to reduce 2 12s, what would I reduce by? 2. Right? That's what we're going to do here. Ladies and gentlemen, what is 2 divided by 2? 1. So I'm going to cross 2 out, and I'm going to put a new numerator there. It becomes a 1. What is 12 divided by 2? 6. I cross 12 out and put a 6. Now here's what we're going to do. We now do step 3, which is we're going to multiply the numerators. So 1 times 1 is 1. We can call this step 4. Multiply the denominators. 6 times 5 is 30. Now, I guess what I forgot to tell you was, remember, and we can even call this step star today, is what you saw me do is I ignored the signs, okay, like we talked about the other day. But now what we want to do is we could call this step star as well, or even step 5, is now redo the signs. So we are multiplying a positive with a negative. They're different, so I need to put my sign on here. It's a negative 1/30. We reduce before we solve. Yesterday, I'm having this lesson. I hear some students, during talk time, they were like this. They were like, "This is ridiculous. I could have just reduced at the end." Okay? And that's, of course, the reason why I want to show you guys one more time this problem. Watch this. 10 and 5 I can reduce by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 7 and 35 I can reduce by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 35 divided by 7 is 5. Let me multiply straight across. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5. Who would have thought that you could reduce this top and bottom by 35? That would have been hard. But because I reduced before I multiplied, the smaller numbers made it easier, so I could reduce and get my number a lot easier. It's a really powerful skill, guys, if you use it right. Okay? When you get to larger numbers, it becomes a big-time skill. Okay, so before I have you guys do a problem, okay, any questions back on these steps right here? I'm going to have you try cross-reducing right now.
When you reduce, you could only reduce it if it's a cross, right? You can't do it like the denominator with the denominator.
Right. It has to be diagonal from each other. Yeah, because this factor is still on the top and this factor is still on the bottom. So that's what keeps it this way, because this is still in the numerator, still in the denominator, still in the numerator, denominator. So that's what allows you to reduce it. Well, the step stars was, remember, we're multiplying. I don't want to forget my negative. So I ignored them to start with, okay, because when I'm multiplying, that's what you do. You'll ignore it and solve your problem. But then in the end, double check and make sure you have the correct sign, either positive or negative on your answer. Okay, other questions? All right, so here's what I'd like you to do. Go ahead. You should have 317 in front of you. Try solving problem 22 using cross-canceling, okay, or cross-reducing. All right? Number 22, go. I'll check in with you guys in about 30 seconds. No sharing yet. Try it on your own first. All right, anyone need more time? Okay, about 15 more seconds there. Okay, 30 seconds. Guys, not only your answer, I want you to share your work. I want you to share to see if they cross-canceled correctly. Okay, so 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
18 over 63. 18 over 63.
Okay, for this particular problem, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and find out what we got for an answer. Okay, so here we go. C12, what was your final answer? Negative 1/18th? Negative 1/18th. All right, agree, disagree. What do you guys think? Okay, there's some people without thumbs up, which tells me maybe there's some disagreements. Anyone have another answer they'd like to share?
Negative 18 over 63.
18 over 63.
Yes.
Okay. Agree, disagree with that one. Okay. All right. Any others that we'd like to put out there? Okay. Well, let's check it. Here we go. 317, number 22. Was 4/9 times negative 1/8. Okay, so there's the sign, right? I'm going to ignore it for a second. There are no mixed numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and reduce. So here we go. Cross reduce. 1 and 9, it can't work. Sometimes you can, like you saw in the big problem, you can cross reduce both ways. Sometimes you can only cross reduce it one way. So 1 and 9 I can't, but 4 and 8 I can. I can reduce both by 4, right, ladies? Okay, so 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now, I go ahead and multiply straight across. So the numerator, 1 times 1 is 1. The denominator, 9 times 2 is 18. And I turn around and say, okay, well, now I look at my signs. Positive times a negative is a negative. And there it is. All right. Any questions, especially on the cross-reducing part? Okay. Okay, let's just try one more. Let's get some extra practice in on this. Let's go ahead and let's take a look. Actually, you guys go to 314 again. I'm going to pull this off of your homework again from last night. 315, number 9. You go to 314, all right, and then find an extra space there. Go ahead and write this down like I'm writing it down. We have negative 1 1/2 times 2/3.
Since it's extra piece of extra paper in the back, can you do it?
That's fine, yeah. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going through the steps. The only reason why I wanted to do this, I wanted to give us some extra practice, but I also wanted to use step 1, convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. So don't forget about this. We're ignoring our signs, and I'm going to go ahead and convert. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 3 halves times 2/3. Okay, what I'd like you guys to do is go ahead, and I want you to try to cross reduce that by yourself really quickly. Go. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so what you guys should have had is this. It's a little weird, right? But what this is a lot of people will call this cross-canceling rather than cross-reducing. And really the reason is because they're basically canceling each other out. Because when you divide both of them by 3, you just get 1 and 1. And the same thing here, right? Divide both those by 2, 1 and 1. So when I multiply straight across, I get 1 over 1. Now don't forget, of course, your sign. Negative times a positive, again, is a negative. But what this really is, right, anything over 1 is the numerator part. It's negative 1. All right, so questions on that one? All right, here's one I want you guys to try. Go back to 317. Try out problem 23. Problem 23. Okay, anyone still working on that? Okay. Again, guys, make sure if you have any questions, you're ready to ask a neighbor there. Give you guys about 15 more seconds. Okay. 30 seconds. Turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
1, 8 20s. 1, 8 over 20s. I'll just multiply and subtract 2.
Okay, so number 23 on that page was 5/6 times 2 3/5. All right, so all I'm doing, right, is the very first part is I'm converting my mixed number. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. We keep the same denominator. Okay, here's my question, and I'm going to pull a stick right now, is from here, okay, can we cross reduce? And if we can, what can we cross reduce? All right, so here we go. C30. And what can we reduce it by? And we get, our new number is?
1.
On both? Agree, disagree? What do you guys think? All right, nicely done, guys. Nicely done. All right, so here we go. Multiply my numerators. 1 times 13 is 13. Multiply my denominator. 6 times 1 is 6. Now, again, we can leave it like that. All right, we can try to reduce it even more, but 6 is divisible by 2, 3, and 6, and none of those go into 13. So remember, we can have it like this. If you want to convert it back to a mixed number, you can. 6 goes into 13 without going over 2 times. That would give us 12, and the difference between 13 and 12 is 1. So that's our remainder. So we end up with 2 and 1/6. Either one of those. Okay, questions?
Can you make it into a decimal?
You're not required to, and as a matter of fact, guys, when we're dealing with fraction, I'd rather you leave it in fraction form, okay? Especially when we correct it, all right? All the keys. When we're dealing with decimals, you'll see it in decimals. When we're dealing with fractions, you'll see answers in fractions. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, so here's what we're going to do. You are going to use this skill. This is a little different. You're going to use this skill on our upcoming lesson. All right, so you're actually not going to have specific homework on this particular skill. This is like a sub-skill. We're going to use this skill with the next skill I'm going to teach you and put it all in one. All right, so that's all about cross-reducing.